Hello YouTube, welcome to my first tutorial video about C++ coding. Now before I start, I'm going to make a couple assumptions for you guys. First of them being that you have downloaded some sort of compiler, which is something you're going to use to write your programs on. Okay, there goes my computer. The second one is obviously you want to learn this stuff. For this one, I will be using the Visual Studios 2013, as you will see once it pops up right about here. Boom! Yeah. Express 2013. So if you're using something like a Linux thing, you'll be using that. Okay, file. What am I doing? So we're going to start a new project. So we go to New Project. Wait for my stupidly slow computer. Okay, we're going to go to Win32 console application, and we're going to call it coding. Yeah, looks about right. Coding tutorial. All right. Okay. Next. We don't need that. We can leave it as console application, empty project, we don't need that. Finish. And these are just all the general things you're going to be needing to set up a basic program. So once it just begins, we're going to have a blank screen like so. Nice and empty. So once into here, we go to Project, add the new item, C++ file, and we are going to call it main, main.cpp. And now here we go. We can now code in this. So the first thing we got to do is let the computer know what kind of words we're going to give it. You do this by telling it to include libraries. So thanks to that, we're going to go hashtag include. And for this first program, we're just going to do some basic input-output, get the computer talking to us. So we're going to go IO stream. Yep, there we go. So I'm just told the computer to include this library called IO stream. After that, we will be using namespace standard. So basically, this gives the computer a few words that it knows now, and this will let us use certain functions. If you're just doing this as a basic thing, you won't need to know what this is. If you're going to be more advanced later on, we might touch on this later on. After that, we'll go int main and curly brackets. So now everything within these curly brackets is our program. And this thing we did IOStream will include the two words cin and cout. Cin stands for console input. And cout means console output. So basically, in plain English, cin is used when you want to input stuff to the computer, like you want to talk to the computer. Cout is used when you want to have the computer say stuff to you. Okay? So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just go cout, and we're going to put these two kind of like greater than or less than signs. Yeah. And in brackets, or in quotation marks, we're going to say, hello, banana world. Oops, I spelled world wrong. Hello, banana world. And end line. So, as you can see, some of this stuff is kind of weird. This is called the end line function. I think it's in namespace standard. This is defined as a function. Yes, it is. It's in the standard library. So basically what this is going to do, oh, hang on. After this, we're going to put return 0. Again, for this first one, you won't need to know why we have to do this, but just keep in mind we have to do this. So we're going to go to build solution, and down here we've got our solution building. So it's going to run through this thing, check for bugs. No bugs, we have a succeed. And start without debugging. And here's what we said. Hello, banana world. Now, had we not done the end line, so I'm going to put a semicolon here. Build. Start without debugging. Yeah. Basically, the pointer did not move to the next line. It just kept going. And in this one, it just puts press any key to continue where the pointer is currently. So it's better form to do this. Now, the next thing I want to touch on is errors. There's 3 types of errors that you can do in a program. There's a syntax error, which you can think kind of like a grammatical error. You misspelled something, forgot a period somewhere. These are English examples. In C++, again, it could be a misspelled word, or forget its version of a period, the semicolon. The semicolon is used at the end of pretty much every line except for processes that will be using a curly brace. Those are the only exceptions to the rule. So if we try to build this right now, we get an error. So syntax error, we're missing this before return. So if I double click on that, this is where they're having a problem, the return. So I need to go back. Oh, I forgot my semicolon. Let's try that again. And now it works. Okay, so now we're going to use the cn function. So we're just going to take away the banana world. So hello. Oops. What is your name? So now we're going to do that. And before we can do like the cn, everything has to basically be stored in some sort of data type. A data type, let me see here. For like integers, you know, your standard numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will use the int data type. For characters, like letters, you'll use char. So you would put like an A, B, C, or you could even put numbers in there. Basically, you just put one character on your keyboard into that. And the last one, the one we're going to need, it's kind of like an extension of char. It's called string. string, and now we have the data type. We have to call it something just so we can reference it. We'll call it name. So the variable name is of type string. Now this is actually an error. You won't know it because if you haven't programmed, string isn't actually really defined, meaning the computer does not know what you're talking about when you say string. So we're going to have to include the library called string. Basically, this lets the computer know what a string is. And a string is basically just a bunch of characters. So, hello, what is your name? And we're going to go cin name. And make sure you put that semicolon. So, now if we build that solution, we got everything right. And we begin. Hello, what is your name? Chris. And that's our program so far. So now I'm going to put in another line. Cout. Cout. Now, if I put name here, basically what that does is it will substitute whatever is stored in name for right here. And what you have to do is you have to be very careful with this because, well, as I show you, strings cut off at the first white space that they find, meaning if I hit the space bar, it'll only save everything before that space bar. So I got to put a space here. Is a good name. And we're going to end the line. Okay, so now we're going to build. Here's a basic conversation. So what is your name? Chris. And I'm just going to move that over here. So we're currently on this line right here. I'm going to hit enter to enter the name. Chris. The name here. Oops. So what was stored in name is placed where we put the variable name. Is a good name. And every time you put a variable or something, you're going to have to put another set of these output operators. So if I wanted to put my name again at the end, I would put name and make sure to put that, because each time we do a different variable or something, we're going to have to keep doing more output operators. Okay, so now, to build solution. Succeed, success. What's your name? Chris. Chris is a good name, Chris. Yeah, there's a problem right here. There's no space in between these words. This looks weird. Well, that's because the computer will only do what you tell it to. A good way of thinking of how technical a computer is, how how specific it would be. Take one of your loved ones and tell them you're going to do a trust exercise with them. Make sure you get them drunk before, because they'll never admit to wanting to do this any other way. Basically, you're going to blindfold them and tell them how to walk in a very crowded room, full of furniture and everything. And you have to guide them successfully through that room without having them crash into everything. That's essentially how you're going to look at a computer program. The computer is a blindfolded friend walking around, and you have to give it very specific instructions. For example, name. Well, that's what we called it. Name. This is different than this because C++ is case sensitive. We declared the variable name with a lowercase, but down here we're doing name with an uppercase. It's a completely different thing here, which is essentially our second error. So if I build solution, name is undeclared. Okay, so here it is. Oh, I capitalized it. There we go. Okay. Actually, no, that's not our second type. Our second type of error is a runtime error. So I'm going to cout 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Oops. What's my problem here? That's right. I did not put brackets around, or quotation marks. So that is important because it's essentially what you want the computer to say. So you gotta tell it what to say. 2 plus 2 equals 4. End line. Now what I'm going to do here, what was I going to do? I'm going to talk to you guys about int x, and float y. Now both of these will hold a number. The only difference is floating point numbers will actually hold decimal points. So now 2 plus 2 equals 4. We are going to have equals 5. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm declaring an int with the name x and assigning the value 5 to it. And now I'm going to do the same. Actually, no, I'll do that. So basically, the same setup, pretty much. I've got an integer x and a floating point y. I'm giving them the same number. Cout x divided by 2. Oops, let's just end that line. That'll be your best friend for now. And cout y divided by 2. End line. Okay, so now let's see what's going to happen here. They both have the same number, and as we all know, 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So we're going to build that. Everything is fine. And we are going to start without debugging. So what is your name? Chris. Oh, and what's this? Yep, before I put a space here, should I mention that? Okay, so 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now the first one was our integer x. 5 divided by 2 is equal to 2. Our floating point y, 5 divided by 2 equals 2.5. That's the correct answer. So this first one here, of this line here, is the second error. It's kind of a logic error. We know 5 divided by 2 is not 2. we know it's 2.5. Basically, what an integer does, it does not, well, basically, it looks at a number and ignores everything past the decimal place. So if you've got like a whole bunch of numbers here and store it in an integer, it will ignore all of this and just save it 2. That is an integer. It's basically the numbers you teach grade schoolers, well, at least the early ones. Your numbers 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. You get it. Floating points will store these numbers. So that is very important to know. Also, what's important to know is that there's also different types. So int is kind of the middle of the road. It's the one you'll use most often. So there's also short, which is basically like an integer, except it's using fewer bytes. You probably won't need to know what bytes are, but if you're curious, bytes are basically things in the computer where you'll have like ones and zeros kind of thing. Short has only a few of these bytes. Int has more bytes. And long has the most bytes out of any of these integer ones. So basically, if you use long, you'll have more bytes. It'll use up more of your memory, but you'll be able to kind of use really big numbers. The same goes for float. Let me see. I think, yeah, float is the lowest one. So again, like this, like short, you'll have float. Then you'll have, double, which will be essentially float, except again, more of these things, so it can do more decimals. And then long double. I think that's correct. Let's just build this to make sure. Yeah. Long double is essentially like the long, blah, blah, blah. That's my name. That's a good name. See? Basically, I'm using the most memory possible with this setup, but that means I can use these like crazy big numbers either way. But you guys probably won't be getting into bits and bytes and all that fun stuff. So I think I'm going to leave it off at that. We've got a basic program right here. Play around with it. Cout is what you want to make the computer say. Cin is basically you talking to the computer. Make sure when you use cin that you have a variable that is appropriate for the data that you're using. I think I got some time. Let me just check. Yeah, I still got some more time. So I think I'm just going to delve a little bit deeper in this video and just talk about the implications of a few things. So let's just get rid of these. So we're back to what's your name? And we're just going to take this out because that's kind of redundant. And build. We know this is perfectly fine. Okay, what is your name? Chris. Hey. So that's a name. Okay? So we're going to use that name. Chris is a good name. But wait. There was another part to that name. This is what I was talking about before when I said that there is like a cutoff at the first white space. So use your, I'll just start again. Fist name. First name, last name. So basically, if you do this, the computer will read all of these characters and throw it into the value name for string, because if that's all that the computer sees in the buffer, that is an input. It cuts off at the first white space, which is right here. Last name. So, first name is a good name. You can use that to kind of screw around with the computer a bit. I'll show you. So if I just duplicate these two lines, build, and restart. First name, last name. Oh, look at this. First name is a good name, last name is a good name. So basically what happens here, because like it didn't ask me for input, is basically it takes whatever you typed in as the buffer that your computer has. So basically you've got this long string and it's only cut it off right here, which means the computer still has this input waiting for the next C in. So we use this first name in this first string, and then we ask for another one. So the computer looks at the buffer, and the buffer has last name in there. So the word last name gets stored into name and used in the next sentence. You're going to want to be very careful with this because you might end up screwing yourself with that. At that, I think I'm going to call it a video at that. You got your basic input, output. The thing to keep in mind is for the cout, you're going to want to use the less than signs, and for the cin, you're going to want to use the greater than signs. If you mix them up, you'll get another syntax error like so. Oh, there's a problem. Yeah, that's wrong, because this operator does not match this word. And you don't have to know what operators are at the moment, but this is essentially a very, very basic program. In the future, I'll be talking more about how you can include white spaces, how you can get everything all shipshape and ready to go. But at that, I'm going to call it a video. So until next time, I'll be seeing you.